Hi everybody. Today we are going to discuss the topic Indian English Literature Historical Perspectives. In this session we would be talking about what is Indian English Literature, why should we study Indian English Literature, and what is the historical background for this particular literature. Indian English Literature is one of the most widely read literatures in the world. We all know that Indian English literature is now recognized as the part of world literature. There are many literatures in English. Similarly, Indian English literature is one of the literatures written in English. It has its own historical background. Before studying Indian English literature, we need to understand what is this Indian English literature? What is the role of English in Indian Renaissance? And to identify the works of early Indian English writers. What is Indian English literature then? According to Wikipedia, Indian English literature refers to the body of works by authors in India who write in English and those native language, and whose native language could be one of the numerous languages in India. 2 points are clear in this particular definition in Wikipedia, that it's a body of works of authors in India. Authors in India is very, very important. Who write in English. Indian writers writing in English. Earlier, Srinivas Iyengar named it as Indian writing in English. But now it is Indian English literature. It means this is Indian English and the literature belongs to India, and whose native language could be one of the numerous languages in India. Of course, there are a number of writers who come from different languages, like Tagore, whose original language is Bengali, like R.K. Narayan, whose original language is either Tamil or Kannada. Raja Rao is from Karnataka. Mulk Raj Anand is from northern part of India. And Kamala Das is a Malayali. Naidu is primarily Bengali, came down to settle in Hyderabad. So all these writers do have their own mother tongues, and India is known for this variety of languages and cultures. So all these writers, Indian writers writing in English, is now known as Indian English literature. According to M.K. Naik, a famous critic, writer, and historian of Indian English literature, whose book Indian English Literature is very, very famous. He writes, Indian English literature is a literature written originally in English by authors, Indian by birth, ancestry, or nationality. This is quite simple and clear here, that it is written in English, originally written in English, not translated, by authors, Indian by birth. It's like a citizenship, Indian citizens, or Indian ancestry, or Indian nationality. So these writers are called Indian English writers. Of course, there is a debate on the term, the use of Indian writing in English or Anglo-Indian. There are 3 terms in currency before we have accepted Indian English literature. Which term should be used is a question here. Anglo-Indian, a literature written by Englishmen on theme and subject related to India. There is a body of literature called Anglo-Indian literature. Of course, Anglo-Indian literature is a discipline that was very, very important during the colonial period, or even after some time, the post-colonial time. Also, Anglo-Indian writers like MMK, Meadows Taylor, Rumar Gooden, even E.M. Poster can also be called Anglo-Indian writer because they wrote about India. George Orwell, they wrote about India. They are not from India. They are Englishmen or the people from England. They wrote on the subject related to India. And this body of literature, that is Charles Kincaid, many Englishmen served in this country in different capacities. Either they are military officers or civilian officers, judicial officers, collectors, variety of even education officers like Faithful Fleet, John F. Faithful Fleet, like Kincaid, Charles Kincaid. Dennis Kincaid was a collector. Charles Kincaid was an educationalist. They wrote, Meadows Taylor was a ruler of Shurpur. They wrote about India, and obviously this kind of literature is called Anglo-Indian literature. This cannot be called Indian English literature. Indo-Anglian literature is another term used by some writers, and this is a genre written and created by the Indian through English language. Here you can see the real birth of Indian writing in English. It's a genre written and created, a kind of literature written and created by Indians through the language of English. This is called Indo-Anglian, Indians writing in English. That's why Iyengar used the word Indian writing in English in his famous book. There is another term used here, Commonwealth or third world literature. It's a post-colonial word. We have used this term, Commonwealth countries. It's an amalgamation or combination of Commonwealth countries which were ruled by the British Raj, whether it's India, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Africa, Nigeria, Kenya, and New Zealand, Australia. These are all the countries invariably ruled by the British Raj, and they formed a group of Commonwealth nations, and the literature produced in these nations in English is come to be called Commonwealth literature, or in the words post-colonial terminology, we can call it third world literature, because first word belongs to the European whites, and the second word belongs to white countries, and the third word is called the countries ruled by the British Raj or Europeans. And the fourth word is Afro-American. These are the terminologies used in post-colonial discourses. Anyway, in India is also called one of the most important third world countries as per the post-colonial terminology. So the literature produced in countries which were once colonies of England are now known as Commonwealth countries. Professor C.D. Narasimha worked very hard, and he developed this very body of literature and worked greatly to focus the authors like V.S. Naipaul, Chinua and great Indian writers too. So after debating the terms, whether Anglo-Indian, Indo-Anglian, or Commonwealth literature, finally M.K. Naik, in fact, used the word Indian English literature. And let us see in the historical background of Indian English literature. The first Englishman to visit India is said to be Seagram in 1883 AD. Of course, the literature begins quite late in 19th century, but English connections begin in India quite way back in 9th century itself. The first Englishman to visit this country. However, it took again 5 more centuries or 6 centuries to find a sea route, because it was a land route, the first Englishman when he visited. The sea route was discovered in 1498 by Vasco da Gama, so the Portuguese discoverer, and he found the Portuguese and the Dutch uh, came to India in 1498. And later you can see the establishment of East India Company in 1600. And again, it took another 1.5 century for the settlement of the British, because the British came to India with an intention to trade and commerce. And they didn't have any idea of settling down here as rulers. But the infightings, or what you call the ripe situation for the company, led them to occupy this rich country. And the first such incident happened here, the Battle of Plassey in 1757. It's very, very decisive. Robert Clive won this battle, and this is the beginning of British rule in India. So, this is a brief background. Earlier again, the British interest in the rich cultural past of India, of course, they wanted to study Indian languages. They wanted to study Sanskrit, they wanted to study, local languages, Prakrit, and all the languages of this country, to understand the rich cultural past of this country. Their intention is to study the local culture. That's why they focused much on Indology. They wanted to study. But on the other hand, the Indian reformers wanted English as a medium of instruction in this country. They found that English is a language of democracy. English is a language of liberation. English is a language that can, strike out all the superstitions. So people like Raja Ram Mohan Rai were in fact demanding that English should be taught as one of the languages or as a medium of instruction in Indian schools. As a result, Raja Ram Mohan Rai wrote letter to Lord Amherst in 1827 and demanded that English should be taught to Indian students too. So obviously, there was a discussion of promotion of European learning in this country. And as a result, we see the foundation of the Hindu College in Calcutta in 1817. So obviously, we come to know that there was a debate whether to teach English to Indians or not. There was a debate between the Occidentalists and the Orientalists. And finally, Macaulay, T.B. Macaulay, in fact, won over the debate. The famous Macaulay's Minutes on Education were accepted on 2nd February 1835. And there was a statement why English is necessary for Indians is given in the statement. It was both necessary and possible to make the natives of the country good English scholars, and that to this end all our efforts ought to be directed. So they see the intention of Macaulay here. It was both necessary and possible. It's both necessary and possible to make the natives of the country good English scholars. We should make them good English scholars. And that to this end, all our efforts, so the British government or the company began to focus much on the English education. So the amount they were spending for school education was spent on the education of students in English. Lord Bentinck's resolution on the introduction of English education to promote European literature and science was made on 7th March 1835. This is another turning point in the history of Indian English literature, because English education was made available to the Indians. So obviously, we come to see the writers writing in English, and naturally, any literature is found, blooming first in prose, and naturally, the first prose writer is Venkata Boraya. His account of the Jains is said to be the first writing in English by an Indian. Of course, Rajaram Mohan Roy started the Brahmanical magazine in English that was circulating between 1821 and 1823. And Rajaram Mohan Roy's another famous work, The Defense of Hindu Theism, is also said to be one of the best prose pieces. So what I mean to say here is that the historical events leading to the introduction of English education, and it created English speakers, English writers, and later it created a big body of literature, later came to be known as Indian English literature. So with this way, I'm going to close today's session. In the next session, we will be talking about various aspects of Indian English literature. Thank you so much. And I hope, you will understand what is Indian English literature, why we should call it Indian English literature, what are the historical perspectives, and what are the historical events leading to the birth of this famous body of literature called Indian English literature. Thank you.